I'll stay with you for just a minute. Are there other resources, Dedric, that you think would be helpful to coaches, whether they come from USTA Florida or not? Do you see something that maybe is missing in the arsenal that we could say, hey, we should really put something together or offer something that we're not offering?
Yeah, I think coach education is really probably missed in a lot of youth sports. And so a lot of times when we think about coach education, we think about just the X's and O's, but what about the philosophical approach to understanding and to development? So I always like to use this really quick example. And there's a pen here, if you can see this pen. And a lot of times as coaches, we see our athletes as good, bad, right, wrong, better or worse. And so that's a very restrictive model in terms of how we coach, how we develop players. And suggest we turn that model on this. And so 1 is the very beginning of the process, and 5 is an expert player. So maybe you have all your players at a 1 today, and we identify that it may not be where we want them to be or where they want to be, but it's a starting point. So what do we need to do to get to a 2, then to a 3, and then to a 4, so on and so forth. So just strictly changing the model of how we think about players and their skill sets from good, bad, right, or wrong to sampling versus investment versus expert will actually allow them to develop at a much faster rate.
I love what you just said, made so much sense to me. We recently went through this training for, it was actually a DE&I training, but it had to do with, your sort of level of excellence. And it was like a similar model of, instead of being like low performer to high performer, it was individual contributor all the way up to executive. So it was basically acknowledge the different levels of development without like sort of that qualifier of, oh, you're not where you're supposed to be, or you're bad, or comparison. And so what you just said really seems to align with a lot of aspects of life where we tend to measure or qualify and not really keep in mind that development is a phased process, and you can be really excelling at all of those different phases is what's right for you. So